Welcome to the Pelican Brief with your host, David Tapman.
Welcome to the Pelican Brief. I am your host, David Tapman. We have a very special guest in our studio today, John Wyble, who is running for state representative in District 75. And welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, David. Well, appreciate you having me here.
I appreciate you, being willing to do this and spend time with us today and offering yourself for public service. And we'll learn a little more because I know you're already in public service. But why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about you?
Sure will. Thank you again. John Wyble, candidate for District 75. District 75 is all of Washington Parish and only Washington Parish. I am the father of three. My wife has been a public school teacher. This is her 32nd year. Public service is very important to us. I'm currently in my fourth term as school board president for the Washington Parish School System, 5th year as president. Very proud of my children and two beautiful granddaughters. And that's a little bit about my background.
So tell us a little bit about your district. So who currently serves in that district?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Prior to redistricting, where I live in Washington Parish, I was part of 74, which is Representative Freeman, who's running for judge.
All right.
And of course, the other part of Washington Parish was District 75, Representative Melinda White, who's running for parish president.
Okay.
And so now District 75 is all of rural Washington Parish.
Okay.
So it's a population just under 50,000, about 25 to 26,000 registered voters.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess with reapportionment, I guess maybe I didn't realize how significant some of those districts have been cut up and reconstituted, I guess would be the right word. But I bet some people don't even know what district they're voting in, right?
It's still a little bit of a struggle, especially in rural Louisiana, because you really have to get your message out. Print media, we have two local newspapers. They're both weeklies.
Mm-hmm.
Can be they're great resources, but sometimes not everybody's reading that. Social media, all of these things, but leading up to early voting and election day, you really have to work hard to make sure people understand what's on their ballot. Of course, the Go Vote app is an amazing resource and tool, and I encourage everyone to download that app and use it because it tells you exactly what's on your ballot.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Sometimes we do some really good things in Louisiana, and that's one of them, really good access to voting information. So I know you currently serve in public office as a public servant. What made you want to run for the Louisiana legislature?
David, I really reflected, and my family and I, at the time, my oldest son and daughter-in-law and our one granddaughter were living up in North Carolina. He's a former airman with the United States Air Force. My youngest son is in the United States Air Force as we speak, part of the Honor Guard. But we were all together 18 months ago or more in North Carolina, and we talked about it. And one of the big questions I have as someone born and raised in Louisiana is, did I do the right thing in staying here and raising my family here? Now, I believe I did, but I feel like there's so much potential and there's so many opportunities for us. But the reality is our young people, like two of my sons, and so many other children and grandchildren are leaving our state. And so it's be a part of the solution that makes it better or, not. And I couldn't sit on the sidelines anymore.
Yeah, no, I get it. And you and I are friends, been knowing each other for a long time. I don't know if you know, but my son was an LSU mechanical engineering graduate, now works in Virginia, in Newport News, building aircraft carriers for the United States Navy. And because there just weren't that many options in Louisiana. So we spent all that money educating a young man with a very good degree. and in order to do the things that they want to do, they have to leave the state. So we clearly need to be looking at how we handle that. I think there was a recent article, you may have seen it, that talked about the out-migration in Louisiana, I believe the only southern state where that's happening, and it's just really disappointing. I'd love to have my he's not baby, but my baby boy is 6'1", 200 pounds. But I'd love to have him here in Louisiana. And the crazy thing is, he really wants to be here in Louisiana. There's just not the job opportunities, out there unless you want to work in a specific area. Oil and gas or petrochemical, you can get a job here. But so let's pretend that we do this little exercise where we pretend last night you were elected to the legislature. And tomorrow is your first day on the job. What are the top 2 or 3 things that you want to do as a state representative to make change in Louisiana?
Absolutely, and that's an easy question because it's what I've been talking about for well over a year now. We have to address workforce. We know that our tax structure and our tax system and overall our business climate is not where it needs to be, and we have to fix that. But really, the foundation of what we need to fix and make attractive to business and industry is our workforce. And it's not that we don't have the talented people. We're not placing the talented people in the programs and the opportunities that best fit the economy and opportunities we have here. So we have to work on workforce. I've said all along in Washington Parish, one of the very first meetings I'm having right after Election Day, within days, hopefully, is education partners, but including North Shore Technical and Community College, Southeastern, where my good friend Dr. Wainwright's the new president, and our K-12 systems, but also inviting, we have some great businesses in Washington Parish. Mm-hmm. We have families who've invested generations of their time, their sweat, their blood, their financial investments, who have incredible businesses, and we're not aligning. And it's frustrating, especially when you serve on a school board and you're like, why are we not doing these things? But then you understand that it's really state policy and state laws that drive a lot of that here in Louisiana. So the first thing is, how do we expand career technical education to continue to grow that area, but not just expand it for the sake of expanding it? How are we aligning it with the job opportunities in the North Shore region, in my case, here? The other piece of it is looking at the other end of workforce development, and that's the birth to 8 space, the 8-year-old space. What are we doing to provide those working families access to quality early child care? And are we doing everything we can as a state to address from kindergarten to 3rd grade a curriculum that's really focused on foundational skills that our young learners need to be successful in whatever journey they choose? So I think that's a great starting point. I have some other concerns around, believe it or not, my background's in agriculture. Okay. Yeah. I used to work for the LSU Ag Center many moons ago. Seems like about 3 lifetimes ago. But, food production and security and the future of ag production, it's so important here in Louisiana. And obviously that includes our seafood industries, our commodities, all of those things that, Louisiana is a vital player in feeding the world, not just the United States. And we have to make sure that we protect those resources, protect who's investing in those resources, and we prioritize the needs of our producers and farmers so that we can continue to have that global role in there. So just a few areas.
So I'm thinking Washington Parish is a big agricultural parish, right? That's one of the big.
We are. Yeah, we are. We're dominated by timber and the logging and wood industry, and those are very important to us. And I certainly support those efforts. Of course, we have the box mill, the paper mill in Bogalusa. Right. That still is very important to us. They're a great partner in our community. They provide, upwards of, say, 500 jobs. But there's also a lot of other opportunities. We've lost our dairy industry, although we do have dairy farmers still there. But, our watermelon production is as good as it gets anywhere in the United States. And we actually have a program that protects our watermelon growers and producers. And, there are instances out there where people take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to protect the quality and credibility and branding of our watermelon farmers, of all things. And of course, beef production is very important.
When I was a child, my dad owned a grocery store. And back then, you just didn't have the sort of distribution channels that you have now. So he would send me up with a couple of his employees in a truck, and we would go to Washington Parish and pick watermelons. So
yes.
I could say that was one of my previous professions.
Right, right. I was visiting with Mr. Mickey Murphy, who's on the Community Technical College Board for Louisiana, and longtime Dean Chancellor Sullivan, Votech in Bogalusa, a great individual in our community. Well, he's also the world-renowned watermelon grower of Washington Parish. And we were talking technology the other day, and he was amazed because I think it was his daughter, maybe his granddaughter, set up what we know as geofencing for him. And he came to Baton Rouge, and he said within a couple of hours, he said all these people were seeing my product on Facebook or social media. And he said, I just sold them without any effort, here in Baton Rouge.
Right.
He set his truck up here. And so it was just, to me, a great intersection of the history and tradition of Washington Parish, meeting and intersecting really with the technology and the possibilities of our future.
Well, I don't know that I always recognize where my watermelons came from, and I don't mean to go off on the watermelon bandwagon, no pun intended. But I will tell you that I have picked up watermelons in Washington Parish before. And just like the strawberries that are produced in Louisiana, they're different. They're sweeter, they taste better, and of course they're fresher. They have fewer pesticides and all of that stuff on them. So I think that's really important. You were talking about timber. As I appreciate it, timber is the number one agricultural crop in the state of Louisiana, correct?
It is, in terms of economic value and volume.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I've worked for the LSU Ag Center. But if I had to guess, I would say probably beef production is close to it.
Okay.
We've obviously increased a lot of our aquaculture efforts and rice and stuff, but we have so many resources. Washington Parish really is unlike any other parish in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And I know everyone comes, and feels that way about their home, but it's true, David. It's when you look at the rolling hills, the tall piney woods, it's really an amazing place. It's why our Bogachita State Park is one of the top visited parks in Louisiana. From the mountain bike trails to the equestrian trails, to the camping, obviously, and then you have access to the Bogachita River, which is unlike any other river. And then now we're getting the Highway 3241, the connection. That's going to be the 4-lane connection for our parish to I-12. There's so many opportunities. And, I feel strongly that we've got to see the best in ourselves first before we can put our best effort forward to really allow people to discover the opportunities and the great living that we provide in Washington Parish.
And look, I have always appreciated your dedication to education because, we both served on the school board during the same time period for a long time. And I know you were a leader on that board serving as president. I also know that I've seen you at the state capitol before advocating for early childhood education, literacy programs, things of that sort. So you really do put your money where your mouth is. And that is right. Education's a great equalizer, right?
It really is. It's an opportunity. I say often, we're educating poor children, but it doesn't mean they have to be held back by poor dreams. We have produced in Washington Parish doctors, lawyers, engineers. We've produced school teachers who have gone on to impact generations of children and future workers and taxpayers in our community. There's so much there. And I think that experience, I've been around the Capitol close to 20 years now and really have been an advocate for those issues, but really for rural communities, when it comes to economic development and workforce development, access to health care, all of the basic tenets you need to really facilitate good economic opportunity. With Senator Mizell today, I was racing here to Baton Rouge just today. We had Insurance Commissioner-elect Tim Temples. He came to Franklinton, which we were very thankful for him. And he took some time to meet with our local insurance vendors, providers, and such, and some business leaders in our community. There's a lot of things that we have to tackle as a state. I feel very optimistic the next 4 years, the direction we're going with a lot of races in our state, that we're going to have the courage to make some really bold decisions about Louisiana and our future. Because the reality is, for generations, we haven't gotten it right.
Right.
We've gotten close a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
but by and large, we've had generations of poor outcomes. And, I'm either going to be very successful and very instrumental in being a part of changing that, or they're going to want to, vote me out as quickly as they can in 4 years. But my experience really separates me, particularly in my race. There's no one that has near the experience who understands the process and really looks at those big picture issues that we've got to tackle.
Sure. So on the insurance front, just a little side note, I do a little work in that arena, and know Tim pretty well. And so you take your timber industry. Do you know that it is so expensive to get insurance on a logging truck that many logging truck operators are parking their trucks, or if they have a fleet of 10, they're running 4 or 5. Because if you can find someone to write a truck, they're going to write 1, or they're going to write 2, and think of the impact that has in your area when that is one of your major agricultural opportunities.
It's crippling. It really is. It's a job killer. You got to understand business, free market, how those things work to really be in a position to make good policy decisions. I really like what I'm hearing from Tim. I'm really optimistic about where we're going to go. But it's crippling for our state. But if you're the tip of the boot and you're surrounded on 2 sides by Mississippi, guess where those trucks and those jobs are going?
We hear the story all the time about truck drivers who can't get, truck operators, I guess is what I should say, who can't get insurance in Louisiana because if you get it, it's going to be through a surplus or a Lloyd's syndicate type thing, who are moving over, establishing a domicile in Mississippi, paying all their taxes to Mississippi, and then driving back on our roads and hauling logs. It's just crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really is. So we have to do better. As I said earlier, we've had generations of poor outcomes. Obviously, what we're doing is not working. And I think a lot of it really truly begins with having that vision and having expectations that, our industries can be some of the best in the world. We've already proven that.
Right.
We've already proven that we can be the best in the world at things. We could do a whole nother podcast one day with Barry Irwin and the Leadership Louisiana program, because I had the opportunity to go through that program years ago, and it was so enlightening, but yet so frustrating.
Yeah.
Because how are we in this position when we have so many resources?
No, I agree with you. I am a little frustrated, but I am optimistic as you are that we have a new group of people coming in. I mean, we'll have a new governor in most statewide elected offices, so we can't make any excuses. We're going to have to get it done. But we're no longer hopeful that Mississippi is actually, we're competing for last place with them because they're surpassing us, and that in and of itself is disheartening.
It truly is. And if you live, my house is literally less than 20 minutes from Mississippi.
Okay.
And if I go east, maybe 35 minutes, I'm in Mississippi. I can be in Bay St. Louis, Waveland, that area in an hour, which we frequented a lot during the shutdown because Mississippi was thriving and going, and not so much here. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. We truly have to get it right. And my granddaughters, they live now in Destin area, which is great because it's only 4 hours instead of 13. They're 2 and 1 years old right now.
Okay.
And I tell any group that'll hear me that my indicator of success will be when they're in high school and they're trying to make a decision about what's next for them, that Louisiana is a choice.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
That we're a viable option.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we measure for so many of our families.
Right.
Because when you start talking and you see the faces on the people you talk to about, their children and grandchildren leaving, it's apparent that it's an epidemic, if you will.
It is an epidemic, and then there's two sides to that. So you have the young people leaving, all the, what I say, the best and brightest, the brain drain, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have a lot of our retirees who are leaving. So they spend their whole lives here. They make all of their money here. And then when it comes time to spend that money, they go to someplace else that has a better tax structure, better tax opportunities. I mean, the number of people that I know that have moved to states like Arkansas and Tennessee and North Carolina, it's just unbelievable. And they're retired. They're not going there to work. They're going there to spend their money.
I have a handful of folks that now reside in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. And it's so frustrating. And then, I learned today that, through the insurance issue, is that a lot of you middle-class working families now are saying, well, look, home ownership is just not affordable here. We have the most unaffordable insurance in the nation. And so there now, your middle-class working families are shopping, if you will, in other locations. So, there's a lot of upside here.
I think so.
And I think we have to make the next 4 years count.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if we could have everybody kind of buckle down and kind of row in the right direction, I think we can get things going. So John, I certainly appreciate you being here. This is the part of the show where we say, I had a list of questions, but is there anything you want to add that we didn't talk about? Make your pitch to our audience and tell them why you should be the next state representative for District 75.
Sure. Always take advantage of that opportunity. And it really goes back to the experience. I had someone joke and they're like, well, they won't have to show you where the restrooms are. And I'm like, well, not only that, I actually know because, there's so many hardworking people behind those committees, behind the scenes, having those relationships with them, having relationships with leaders here and across the state. When it gets time to talk about policy and, well, what does it look like? What can we do that's realistic? I think all of those things really separate me, particularly in my race. And I think, just the focus on jobs and economic opportunities and knowing that, we have to really address that infrastructure, if you will. And that includes broadband and roads and all of those other things. But it also includes affordable insurance, access to high quality education, access to health care. All of that is part of that process. Yeah. And I'm going to work really hard and make bold decisions because, again, we've had generations of poor outcomes and generations of opportunities left behind, and we just can't afford that anymore.
Yeah, and I am hopeful as well, and since I work in this arena, I would look forward to working with you when you're elected. Tell our audience how they get in touch with you.
Sure. The website is www.teamwyble.com. That's TEAM Wyble.com. info@teamwyble.com is the email. I'll give you my cell phone number. You can call, text me. Text me is probably better. 985-320-9379.
That's great. And again, I want to commend you for offering yourself for additional public service. You know your way around the Capitol, that's for sure. And, you put your money where your mouth is. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that, you have to go out and get the election done, which is a lot of work. And then the real work starts after that's over. So thank you again. And just one little closing note. My wife was a 32-year teacher as well. Now she's retired. So we're done. But the education piece is so critically important, and I know that you'll be very committed on that end. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate this
Absolutely.
opportunity.
Thank you,
very
John.
much.
So that is our show for today. We are the Pelican Brief. I'm your host, David Tapman. You can find us on all of the podcasting platforms, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, all of them. You can also find us, if you're listening, you'd like to watch on YouTube. The handle for that is at the Pelican Brief 225. If you would like to follow us on social media, on all social media platforms, our handle is at Pelican Brief 225. And if you would like to email us, that email address is thepelicanbrief225@gmail.com. So thank you for tuning in. Until next time, we are the Pelican Brief.
The Pelican Brief is an off-script production.